Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Saratoga Racecourse here on Saturday. It is the 3rd of August 2024. It's Whitney Day from Saratoga, and I'm going to look at the Whitney and all the other stakes races on the program from the spa. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and also join me tomorrow for my Birdstone preview here from Saratoga. Also some great racing in France from Deauville. In August, basically, in France, everybody seems like they go on vacation in August, and everybody goes to Deauville, and on Sundays, that's when their big race day is. Group 1 action, basically, from, the first weekend, last week in July until the last weekend of August, and this weekend, I believe it's the Prix Maurice de Guist, or something like that. I can't remember what it was now, but, the big races, some good racing on Sunday from Deauville, so go check that out, also check out next week, you have some good racing with the Arlington Million, so stick around for that here stateside. But Whitney Day at Saratoga is the second biggest day, I guess, behind the Travers Day. You have some good action here. Races 7 through 11 we'll be looking at right now, all conveniently packed, and all stakes pick 5, which I quite like. The 7th race from Saratoga to start off this all stakes pick 5, it is the Saratoga Derby Invitational. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $600,000 purse, race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 8 horses going 1,900 meters, or a mile 3/16 on the Mellon Turf course. I'm going to take my shot with the number 7 horse, Royal Majesty, as a top selection. 7-4-2-3 for me in the superfecta. 7-4-2-3 super, top selection 7 horse, Royal Majesty. This 3-year-old colt by Frankel here. Belmont trains. Junior Alvarado gets the mount. 12-1. The horse's most recent appearance came 6th of July at Aqueduct. Mile 3/16 on the outer turf course in the Grade 1 Belmont Derby. The horse finished 4th by 1 3/4 lengths that day. He was just very wide that day. They were close to each other also that day. It was always a small, compact group of horses. Tricari really gamed it out to the wire that day. Clay Palomino, who's running back this one today, gamed it to the wire also, nearly coming back on the wire. But this horse, he just kind of plodded along. He ran okay. It seemed like him and the horse that ran the Derby, who I bet for a Mercury Bull, he just didn't move in the back of the pack. They were going quite slow early on. I think you'll see a bit of a faster pace in this one. I think he could get some traction to find that turn of foot late. He ran, I thought, terrifically in the Pennine Ridge at Aqueduct, mile 8, 25th of May, where he finished 3rd by 1 1/4 lengths that day, and he sat back early, moved a little bit in the lane. White Palomino and Legend of Time just had the jump on him running back this one today, but this horse, not a bad race in defeat that day. And then the 13th of April at Keeneland, mile 16th, in the Lowndes race for 89,000, won by 2 lengths that day, closing up from nowhere. I thought that was a very good effort with the 76 buyer. Since coming here stateside at the beginning of the year at Gulfstream, he's definitely improved a lot. I think he's bred for the mile 3/16, which he's going to get again today. I think you should see some more action on the front end early on. That should set up for a closer in this one. I'm going to use him. Going throughout the 4s, Diego Velazquez for Aidan O'Brien, Coolmore, and Ryan Moore. This horse is crying out for serious not class relief. Well, he's getting some class relief from some of the UK races, but he's crying out for some serious distance decrease. Last time out, when he finally got in the Group 3 Meld Stakes at Leopardstown over the mile furlong, he won by a half a dozen that day, and he flew home clear late. They tried over the mile and a half in the King Edward at Royal Ascot, where he just didn't do a lot of running. He walked in the line that day. Prior to the Prix du Jockey Club over the extended mile and quarter, he just wasn't getting that day, nearly a mile 3/8 trip. And then he just saw a little bit gummy ground in the Poulines, the French 2,000 guineas. It rained right. It was very lightning fast ground for the time of year at Longchamp, and it rained right before the race. So it was they had a holding pattern before the race, and I just don't think he liked the gumminess of the course. He just wasn't getting into it. Also, he needed a race off the bench. His 2-year-old form wasn't bad at all. Back to a mile 3/16. I'm gonna give him a massive shot on the ticket. But to recap my selection now for the 7 from Saratoga, it's a Saratoga Derby. Gonna take the 7 horse here, Royal Majesty. Give kudos to the 4s, Diego Velazquez. 7-4-2-3 super, 7-4 in the multi-race. Let's get to the 8th race now from Saratoga, which is the Test Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $500,000 purse, race for 3-year-old fillies. Field of 6 horses going 1,400 meters, or 7 furlongs on the main track. Gonna go to the number 2 horse here, Denim and Pearls. 2-4-1-5 in the superfecta. 2-4-1-5 super, top selection 2 horse, Denim and Pearls. This 3-year-old filly band to the mischief. Brad Cox trains. Irad Tees Jr. Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Grade 2 8 Bells at Churchill in the slop, 7 furlongs 3rd of May, and the horse finished 7th by 10 1/4 lengths that day, and she just didn't do a lot that day. You know, she sat back early, she had a bit of a trouble trip around the lane, around the turn, and she just never showed up. I think refreshing here to Saratoga, a little lesser quality horses, smaller compact group of horses, I think she could find a better trip than she did Derby Day at Churchill. She ran 2 back in the Beaumont at Keeneland, about 7 furlongs, 7th of April, and she ran terrifically. She won by 9 1/4 lengths that day, and from a tracking trip, she flew home clear late. You know, first off, a little bit refreshing, finally back around 1 turn. I think she ran terrifically. They tried a routing 2 turns in the Oaklawn Martha Washington on the slot, mile 16th, 3rd of February, where she finished 2nd by 2 1/4 lengths that day, and she just kind of hit the wall that day. I just don't think she wants to go a 2-turn mile 16th. Yes, the race before in the year's end, she nearly won, but again, she just kind of hit the wall around the 2 turns in the mile year end, finishing 2nd by 3/4 length that day. And then a 1-turn mile, basically elongated sprint at Churchill, she won quite nicely in her sophomore outing. It's been training quite nicely at Churchill since the last race. Refreshing here, I think she could get a piece fit. Don't throw out the 4-horse ways and means. Her race in the Saratoga here in the Belmont Stakes Festival weekend over the Wilson Mile was impressive. She won by 8 1/4 lengths that day, getting some serious class relief. She didn't get out of the gate so clear, but after that, she flew home. 104 by her. That was a strong run. Prior to that, in the Kentucky Oaks, she just had a wide trip, and I just don't think she wants to go the 2 turns again. You know, she nearly won spin away on this track where she had to clip heels a few times, and then broke her mane here nearly a year ago quite nicely by a couple dozen lengths, it seemed. But refreshing here, back to a 1 turn off of a great triple-digit buyer last time out. She could win. I would use her on the ticket. But to recap my selection now for the 8th from Saratoga, it's this test stakes. Going to take the 2-horse Denim and Pearls. Give kudos to the 4-horse Ways and Means. 2-4-1-5 Super, 2-4 in the multi-race. Let's get to the 9th event now from Saratoga, which is the Lure Stakes. It's going for a purse of $135,000, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses in the Lure, the 10 horses in MTO, so 9 will head to the Inner Turf Course, 1,900-meter journey, or mile 16th on the Inner Turf Course. Top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 9 horse, More Than Looks. I'll go 9-4-5-1 in the superfecta. 9-4-5-1 super, top selection 9 horse, More Than Looks. This 4-year-old colt by More Than Ready. Cherie DeVoe trains. Iratus Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Breeze Cup Mile at Santino, 1 mile 4th of November. Second time facing older horses, first time facing older horses in group quality horses. Stakes quality horses. This horse ran terrifically for that 6th place finish from where he was drawn 12 of 13. He finished 6th by 2 lengths that day, and he sat back early. He came with the cavalry late. Master of the Seas, who won that day, was next out winner, really gamed it to the wire. Maj finished 2nd for Godolphin, ran terrifically. Casa Creed ran terrifically. This horse for a 6th place finish, it was a great run. Breeze Cup Mile used to never be my favorite race. As the years go on, I think it's one of my favorite races now. Along with the turf is always my favorite race, but the mile might be a quick second now. It was. We'll see. Maybe the turf distaff and then the mile. Classic is a race. I either pick the winner or the horse is finished at last, it seems. But this horse ran terrific in that race. I think refreshing here to Saratoga. He's on a turf court that does not play towards closers at times, but I think he'll be a little bit fresh here today. Cherie DeVoe has very good numbers off the bench, 27% out of 37 offerings with the horse off long benches. I think this horse can, find a trip to win. In the Jefferson Cup at Churchill last fall over the mile 30th of September, this horse ran terrifically, winning by 2 3/4 lengths. Again, he sat back early, a strong pace to close up into, and he did just that. A very good turn for him that day. He ran here last year on this Inner Turf Course in the Hall of Fame over the Bout Mile, where he finished 3rd by 2 1/4 lengths. Carl Spackler ran terrifically on the soft ground. This horse didn't break so well. It took him a little bit of time to get going. Maybe he needed the race that day. They should have probably ran him in the Secretariat that same weekend at Churchill, at Colonial, I think, and then the Manila at Belmont over the mile. The horse winning by 1 1/4 lengths that day. That race, they were flying on the front end, but this horse took good advantage of that widener turf course that could play towards closers. He really flew home clear. I watched that replay again today. It made me miss Belmont, especially that Widener turf course races. Because if you're rounding on the Widener turf course, even going 7 on the Widener at Belmont, you want to pick a closer at times because they can play towards closers. Inner turf course, completely different routing. Going a mile 16th and a mile through a quarter at Belmont, the inner turf course, bet the speed because it usually holds up. But we won't be doing that for another 2 years and year and 22 months, I'm like, I don't know, but you know, he ran terrifically in the middle of last year at Belmont and broke the maiden on the turf before, or first time allowance horses at Ellis before they go mile 16th, winning by neck. I thought that was a very good run. Has been on the definite improve. Like I said, Charitovo has good numbers off the bench. 2-1. He's going to be a crap price here, but I think this horse get a piece of it. I think the 4-horse Irish Aces for Tyler Gaffney and Brendan Walsh can win also. You know, most recently an optional 62 here back in opening weekend over the mile 16th in the Mellon. This horse ran his third by half a length that day, and you know, he was closing up well late. I thought he needed a better trip from where he was drawn, but for a 91 buyer, not a bad race. He ran the grade 3 Arlington before that at Churchill. I shouldn't say that, but the Arlington at Churchill, you know, politics sometimes, but he finished third by 2 lengths that day, and he was just wide, not really getting into it. Maybe he needed the race there, and then a race that's probably going to be a grade 1, I think, by the end of this decade, the Muniz Memorial, where you always see good horses running in. He finished 6 by 6 1/4 lengths that day, and he just had a bit of a troubled trip that day, but refreshing here. Off some decent runs as of recently. I'm going to give him a shot here on the ticket. To recap my selection now for the 9th from Saratoga, it is the Lure Stakes. Going to take the number 9 horse, More Than Looks. Give kudos to the 4-horse Irish Aces. 9-4-5-1 Super. 9-4 in the multi-race. The 10th race now from Saratoga, it is the Troy Stakes. It's a grade 2 event going for a $300,000 purse, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 12 horses entered. The 12 horse disarmed is an MTO, so 11 will head to the Mellon Turf Course where the rails are down 1,100 meters or 5.5 furlongs in the Mellon Turf Course. Gonna take the 7-horse Big Invasion as a top selection. 7-6-1-11 in the superfecta. 7-6-1-11 super. Top selection 7-horse Big Invasion. This 5-year-old horse by declaration of war. Christophe Clement trains. Frankie Dettori gets on this one for the first time here. He ran most recently 4th of July at Aqueduct race, a race I was looking forward to. Went to Aqueduct that day. 6 furlongs on the outer and optional 80. He's running against stakes quality horses as a part of an entry. He finished second by a neck that day, and he sat back early. He saw a good pace to close up into, and he just missed Outlaw Kid, who had the jump on this horse. But in that all-out finish, he ran his heart out. Not a bad race in defeat, stepping down in class. Good confidence builder. Back here to Saratoga, where he's really run well in the past, getting a different jockey. I think he can run a good race here today. You know, he ran 2 back in the Jaipur on this turf course over the 5.5, and he finished 10th by 8 1/4 lengths that day. He didn't have the best of trips, and he just never really got going that day. It wasn't his day to win. I don't know if he handled the turf in the Twin Spires turf sprint at Churchill, going 5.5, finished 10th by 11 1/4 lengths. He had a wide trip, and, you know, I think Cogburn just had an easier trip from the inside that day, and then the Silks run a Gulfstream. That turf course does not play towards closers, but he was running decently. At the end of the season last year, he was pretty perfect after that stupid trip to Ascot. We'll get to that in a second. He ran the Harvey Pack last year on this turf course where he got caught by Thin White Duke, who's a decent horse, I think. He's run back this one today. Thin White Duke caught him, but this horse ran his heart out closing up from that day. After that, in the Nearctic on soft ground at Woodbine, he won by a head where he grinded it to the wire, and then the Brews Cup turf sprint at Santini over the 5/8. He finished second by a neck, and he nearly caught no balls that day. He had a bit of a troubled trip from the inside from the rail, but he got down the race course well late. That was impressive. You know, in June he placed in the Jaipur behind Carville. Decent run that day, and I have no idea why they took him to England to start 2 weeks later. I would really love to get a good answer why, because he just didn't show anything. I thought that was a very weird move. You know, I think that took something out of him for the midpoint of the season. But you know, they missed some probably good races here at Saratoga, like this one last year, or even you know, a race, something like at Churchill after that or something like that. But, you know, it's a head scratcher that Royal Ascot race, why he went there. Because he wasn't going to win on paper after a massive race 2 weeks prior in New York. But, you know, back to this turf course where he likes running. Good confidence builder last time out, getting Frankie up. At 12-1, I'm going to give him a shot. I think the 6 horse here, Cogburn, who ran the first sub 5.5 in sub 1 minute, is your second likeliest winner also. With that 111 buyer in the Jaipur, he won by 3 1/4 lengths, 59-4 for the 5.5. He was flying that day. That was a very good run. since coming to the turf, he's becoming a different kind of horse. On turf now, he's 6 for 5. His only defeat came in the Kentucky Downs turf sprint last year, where he just wasn't handling the quirkiness of the ground, I think. But since then, he's been pretty perfect. There's only one horse that beat him in the Buyers this season. That was in the overcharged at the fairgrounds this year, ran a 113 buyer and that stakes race in March. But other than that, this horse has run freaky fast times this year. Two back in the Twin Spires turf sprint. Can't speak, excuse me. He won by 2 1/4 lengths at a stupidly wide poster, but he broke on top and he flew home clear late. He ran 1 minute and 3 for the 5.5, came back 59.4 after that. Ground had a little bit given it also, and he was coming off a bench, but that was still an impressive run on that quirky turf course. Last year he wasn't handling ground in the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs, but he won this race on soft ground last year by 3/4 length with a 100 buyer in 103 3. Again, beating home your eventual Brews Cup turf sprint winner No Balls that day, and Thin White Duke was the next out winner. A couple starts after that in the Harvey Pack, I believe. This horse just again freaked that day. He's coming here to a turf course that he likes. He's drawn well. He likes the green stuff. Watch out for him. You don't throw out the Godolphin horse here. Mischief Magic for Charlie Appy and William Buick. This horse hasn't won stateside, but if you look at some of the races on stateside, he hasn't been half bad. A decent place in the Shakertown. Very good third in the turf sprint at Churchill. And then the Jaipur, the horse lost all chances on the week before the race when they drew the race. He was drawn 12-12. But, with a better poster here on the rail today, not ideal, but better than the 12 hole. I think he'll find a better trip to get a good turn of foot here. At 6 to 1, I'll use him here. But this is going to be an exciting race. It wouldn't surprise me if you're going to see a nice priced horse in this one. But to recount my selection for the 10th from Saratoga, it is the Grade 2 Troy. Going to take the 7-horse Big Invasion. Give kudos to the 6-horse Cogburn and the 1-horse Mischief Magic. 7-6-1-11 Super. 7-6-1 in the multi race. Let's get to the 11th race now from Saratoga, which is the feature Whitney Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for $1 million purse race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 12 horses going a lap around the main track, which is 1,800 meters in circumference, or 1.1 miles on the main track. My top selection, I'm going to go with the 5-horse First Mission, 5-3-2-9 in the superfecta. 5-3-2-9 super, top selection of 5-horse First Mission, 4-year colt by Street Sense. Brad Cox trains. Florent Giroux gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Stephen Foster Stakes at Churchill, mile 8th on the 29th of June, and the horse finished 4th by 4 3/4 lengths that day, and he was with the pace setters that day, seeing some good fractions. He just kind of hit the wall late, but I thought he ran decently that day. I hope he just comes from a little bit behind today, not sitting on the pace. I think he does. If you look at his running styles, when he's on the lead, he just gets a little bit too excited and just doesn't get that good turn of late. I think when he has a pace to run into from a stalking trip, I think that's where he runs better. If he stalks here today, I think he could find that better trip to win, and I think he'd go all the way. He had a good stalking trip in the Ali Shiva at Church on the soft going mile 16th in May, where he won by 4 lengths that day. He stalked into the race, he quickened up nicely with a 106 career best buyer. That was an impressive run. Again, prior to the Essex handicap at Oakland over the mile 8th on the 23rd of March, from a track and trip, he won by a half a dozen that day, and again, he flew home clear late. I thought he had a bit of a weird trip in the Pegasus World Cup where he was drawn wide. Also, he didn't, he just didn't show up that day. Maybe the very sandy going at Goldsboro and the sandy surface he didn't like, but he had a massive place on the in the Clark handicap last year, and then won his seasonal reappearance at Keeneland quite nicely. Like I said, I think the key with him is just let him sit back a little bit, not being on the pace, because he could settle a little bit towards the back. Refreshing here, I think he can win. National Treasure, wouldn't surprise me if this horse steals it on the front end. He won the Metropolitan Handicap over the Wilson Mile here quite nicely a couple of weeks ago by 6 1/4 lengths with a 102 buyer. Back from Saudi, I thought that was a very good race. Coming here again to Saratoga, he ran here twice. He ran here in the Travers last year. We didn't do a lot of running, but he looks like a kind of horse that might be a little bit late developing for Bob Baffert. He always, it seems with him, he'll run this good race and then this bad race. He didn't run so good in Saudi, where he just kind of yielded late, but ran terrifically in the Pegasus World Cup, and then the Brews Cup Dirt Mile behind Cody's Wish. He nearly, gamed it out to the wire, but this horse, Cody's Wish got the jump on him late, but this horse ran his heart out. Like I said, it looks like it's taken him a little bit of time to get going, but once he finally did, he's really improved a lot. 9 to 5, not the best price in the world, but he can win. You know, the two-horse Disarm, he's ran some very good races last year against against the three-year-old division. Massive place, I thought, in the Travers last year. A decent race in the Matt win, and then a sneaky good fourth in last year's Derby. Came back to win his seasonal reappearance in a slow buyer time, and then he did improve a little bit in the Stephen Foster, but I think he needs to break a little bit better. Coming from mid-pack, it wouldn't surprise me at 15-1 if he wins. I would give him a shot here today. But to recap my selection for the 11th now from Saratoga, it's featured Grade 1 Whitney, going to take the 5-horse First Mission, give kudos to the 3-horse National Treasure and the 2-horse Disarm, 5-3-2-9 Super, 5-3-2 in the multi-race. With that being said, good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, everybody.